So, good morning, one and all present here in a physical, also in an online mode. So, on behalf of CMS Business School, Jain Deemed to be University Marketing Area, and Team DigiMar, I, Professor Anurag Jain, heartily welcomes you all and to this masterclass on data-driven marketing in the age of digital transformation. Today, we have Dr. Shiv Kumar as a resource person for this session. It gives me an immense pleasure to introduce you with Dr. Shiv. So Dr. Shiv is the current director and co-founder at Organtia LLC and also Camp Automation Platform. He is also visiting faculty of IIM Indore, IIM Raipur, IIM Rohtak, NMIMS, Kirloskar Institute, IIM Amritsar, and other reputed institutions. He has an exposure and spent a good amount of time with some global firms such as Microsoft and Tele. I think more than 10 years he has spent with these firms. He has done his postdoctorate from IIM Indore and MS Consultancy Management from Pilani. He has been certified from the Microsoft Marketing Academy as well as Chartered Institute of Marketing UK. He is also a certified Salesforce Marketing Cloud Specialist. Dr. Shiv has completed over 2 decades of marketing journey in leading organizations and with Fortune 500 brands, evolving strategic plans in the areas of marketing and alliances, building marketing strategies, and methodical execution of the policies, strategies are his specialization areas. So I would like to heartily welcome Dr. Shiv M. Kumar to take over this session. Over to you, Shiv, sir. Thank you for being here.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Anurag. Really appreciate that wonderful, but always, you get really a little nervous when you hear people recommending you and talking about you in big lights, right? So I'm really glad I'm here. Thanks to my professor at IIM Indore, Dr. DigiMar, who had recommended me to go around and deliver my academic academic initiatives across different platforms. So today we are going to be speaking about the So the topic of today is going to be data-driven marketing in the age of digital transformation, right? So you've already heard about me, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time on that. But one thing I wanted to highlight about the corporate experience I have been with players like Microsoft and Tele. When I was part of Microsoft's pricing division in Redmond, I have gone through 2 important transitions. One, which is of Office 365, and the other one of what we talk about, the Azure transition. Both of them had huge impact on the organization. So when I look back, the journey of digital transformation had started in the midst of 2000s and 2010s. And that is how the whole journey has been going on, and it is kind of disrupting a lot of spaces today, right? Whichever sphere of life we are in, we are seeing some kind of digital transformation going on, and this digital transformation is kind of touching every life in the planet today. So today's session, we will understand what kind of digital transformation is going on and how this is kind of impacting marketing, and more so how it is making marketing more data-driven, right? And what do we mean by this data-driven marketing, and how are we going to approach this? So the spaces we are going to be touching upon is, literally whatever space you talk about, whether you speak about the retail spaces out there, the living spaces out there, how we live today, how we travel today, how we eat today, right? So we have been, we are slowly getting into the mode of looking up to Swiggy rather than asking our moms for food. So the living spaces, the way we live, the way we eat, the way we commute, everything is transforming, right? Similarly, the retail spaces are transforming. We kind of moved pretty much into the electronic commerce area, and we kind of look at how we are going to be, doing our purchases. So the retail spaces are kind of transforming as we speak. Then we talk about the productive spaces, right? So how do we do our production? Whether we talk about the manufacturing, we talk about maintaining the land records. There are a lot of things which are changing in the way we manage our, overall production. And finally, we talk about the mind spaces, right? So while all this spaces, retail space, living space, and productive space has an imperative on the overall lives, the mind space plays a very important role in what we talk about the marketing, right? So marketing, after all, as Alrice put it, is how we are going to go and occupy the mind spaces of our consumers. So with that backdrop, when we look at the retail spaces, there are a lot of disruption which is happening. Talk about the e-commerce, talk about the smart retail. So let's understand what and how these transitions are happening, transformations are happening. Living spaces, we know shared living and 3D printing changing the way we live and operate. Production spaces, we talk about Industry 4.0, IoT, blockchain, everything has an impact in the way things are happening. And finally, we talk about the mind space, which is about big and small data and how it is impacting the marketing and moving marketing into what we talk about the modern marketing. All right. So if I reflect back 2 decades or 2.5 decades of my experience, marketing has gone through a sea change. And we are in the cusp of that transition, right? So we are all in the cusp of this transition. We know, we sit through classes, we teach our students about the consumer behavior, we talk about the consideration set, we talk about how customer journey happens. And today, much beyond all of this, we will be able to exactly track how this customer journey is happening out there. Right, so that would be something very interesting, which we will be looking forward to. So look at the retail spaces. For example, let's start with the retail spaces. So who is reaching into retail? All the kind of online initiatives, the kind of digital initiatives which are going on. You can see the nice teeth which is shown up in the Amazon's logo. If somebody is from Amazon, with due respects, no offense. So the overall digital wave in the retail is kind of eating into the retail space today, right? And we all know that there is a huge promise going on. Like, for example, if you talk about Morgan Stanley says that we will become a $200 billion, electronic commerce industry, right, in 2026. So it is growing leaps and bounds. It is growing at 1,200%, which is not something small. Look at the physical stores. What are they doing, right? Are they going to wind up? Are they going to go away? So let's look at what they are doing. Are we going to really pack up and go, pack up and move? Is this the way we are going to be responding to the online retail? Answer is no. The space is transforming as well. We are talking about a smart retail. Smart retail is going to be something which is going to make a huge difference for us. Right from the time you enter into the geo fence around your store, the way they welcome you to the store, that, hey, you have been into the commercial street, come over, let's see, let's meet, let's kind of meet and greet, come over to the store. And there are these new merchandise which is waiting there to welcome you. That is how the messaging can happen the moment somebody comes closer to a couple of kilometers around commercial street. So what we talk about geofencing. From that time of how you're planning to attract your customer, all the way to the experience when they enter into the store, the way you can potentially order online and then take the delivery offline, the overall O2O convergence, what we talk about, everything is kind of taking shape. And more than that, yeah, anybody asking a question? Hello? I heard somebody. Okay, if there is nothing, fine. So when we talk about the smart retail, is going to really change the way the current retail environments are looking like. And there are huge initiatives that are happening. Talk about the Future Group or Future Group's initiative of what they call it as the Kastu. Future Group, of course, it is going to be merged into Reliance, and there is a huge amount of controversies going on, barring all of that, look at the Tatastu initiative. If you have time, you can go and look at this document called Retail 3.0 in Future Group's site and read through it. It kind of talks about how things are going to change in the next 30 years. What all the things they are envisaging and how people are going to shop is going to completely change. The digital wave, the way you can welcome a customer, the way you can understand what the customer is looking for, the way you share information in the retail front to the customer, the way you are helping them to not only look at what is there in the store, but also look up in the online and start placing the orders. The smart retail is going to double up as an extended arm of your online retail. So it is not going to go away. It is going to really create a huge difference today. Amazon has already gone and signed up with 20,000 retailers in the heartland of India and trying to create a huge amount of tentacles that is going deep into the second and third tier cities in India. So that is where the space of retail is kind of transitioning. Now let's move on to understand how the space of living going to change. If I tell you that it takes only 54 hours to build a house, will you be liking it? If I tell you that it is going to cost you 20% less than the normal construction, will you like it? 3D printing is going to make a huge impact. Already it is, if I'm not wrong, 2018 May was the first 3D printed house built in France, which was certified for human inhabitation, and the first family moved in May 2018 into that kind of a house. In last year, I think 2020 or 2019, China went ahead and built 10 houses within a period of 24 hours. In 24 hours, 10 houses. Just imagine the kind of societies we are living in, where the housing need is so high. There is a huge bustling population in all these emerging economies. How are we going to really satisfy the home needs or the safety needs of these people? So look back, this kind of technologies are going to change the way we are going to live. And when we talk about digital transformation, it is not just creating some cloud servers and delivering some AI algorithms to a few people, but a lot beyond that, it is going to touch the human lives. Let's see how it will touch the human lives. This is one of the prototype which has been built using 3D printing. Look at the finicity of it. Look at the way it can even build curvatures, right? Look at the way it can go in detail in terms of how it can apply the concrete, how it can apply the surface finishing and deliver you a house a lot faster, right? And at a lower price points. So this is how the living spaces are going to transition as we move forward. Then comes the production spaces, right? Talk about Industry 4.0. We know 1.0 kind of, is when the whole industrialization happened, mechanization happened. We keep reading about Mr. Taylor, right? A fascinating story, isn't it? If you go beyond the principles of management books and start reading about Frederick Taylor, you will understand the great lengths of effort he has gone through in terms of standardizing the human labor, right? And how his own laborers have thrown him out of the factory, right? It's a fascinating story about Taylor, which was the starting point of what we talk about the Industry 1.0. Then we moved on to what we talk about the mass production. We were able to produce, we were able to create huge assembly lines and send material across various stocking points, warehouses, and create the whole standardization in terms of delivering the products, which was the 2.0 wave. Then the 3.0 wave, which has happened in the last 50 years, where we kind of heavily computerized, we started assimilating information, we started automating some of those elements. In fact, in 1993, when I was visiting this factory called MRL. I don't know how many of you know. MRL stands for Madras Refineries Limited. When I went in '93 for a consulting assignment, I remember seeing their plant getting connected to the silicon graphics machines, right? The whole plant, if you see the refinery plant, you have a lot of stages, right? The oil moves into different stages. It goes through heating, it goes through cooling, it goes through some kind of a chemical treatment before you finally get the extracts out of the crude. So if I remember right, in '93, I saw the silicon graphics machines showing the entire layout of the factory, right? And in certain, and in refineries, what happened when the oil moves, there could be certain places it can get clogged, right? So there needs to be some kind of an intervention to remove the clogs. So sitting from the silicon graphics machines, people used to track and say, hey, you know what? This is where I'm seeing the clog. Is it a normal area? If it is a normal area, there will be a manhole. They will instruct somebody to go and open the manhole and declog, put some declogging chemicals. Wherein in certain places where the refinery goes through a lot of heating process, right? Where you cannot send a man, there cannot be a human intervention happening there. Right from the silicon graphics machines, these guys used to, push a button and a valve will automatically open, pushing some chemicals into the clogged areas, thereby declogging the entire refinery, right? So look at the kind of automation we spoke about just now, the example, and that too in India. So we are not talking about a very developed country. In a place like India, as a company back here in Chennai, where we had such kind of automation, right? So automation, computerization and automation, that has kicked in the industry 4.0. And now what do we talk about this 4.0, where we are going to talk not just about humans giving commands, but machines going to be talking to each other, right? So you have a lot of information that is getting collected from various machines. Machine-to-machine communication is already starting. There is a lot of fully automated factories that are kind of working today in various parts of the globe, and China is kind of leading out there as well, where we talk about a variety of processes are getting completely automated. There's a lot of data that is kind of moving out of these machines, which are being monitored in control stations, right? So like how we used to have the control stations, which they showed in the Star Wars movies, right? Where you have a NASA kind of a center where you sit and monitor what is going on, which is for a particular satellite which you have launched in the space. Today, you can even sit in a control system and start monitoring what is happening in different plants out there, where the production is happening, how the production is moving, whether the raw materials is moving in, whether the finished goods are coming out. All of that you will be able to monitor sitting in one place. Now, let's look at blockchain, right? That's another interesting technology which people keep talking about, which is kind of changing the way we live. If I tell you that the land digitization is going on in India in a rapid pace, very few of us will be able to appreciate that fact, right? Already there are some 6 or 7 states which are heavily into digitization of land records, and these land records are not generally getting digitized. It is not like they are scanning these documents and throwing it in a particular place. They are using blockchain technologies to scan these documents and upload these documents into a blockchain mode. Now, what do we mean by this blockchain mode? Let's look at how whatever we learned from the Bitcoins, right? So blockchain was originally being created for the Bitcoin by the so-called ghost who kind of launched this and went away underground, right? So when we talk about the blockchain and the currency movement, imagine you are taking home $100,000, and out of this $100,000, $20,000 goes to your housing and $1,000 goes into your maintenance, right? Now, if you are spending, if you're getting into some kind of a saving, say a 30 grand you're saving out of the 100,000, and then you have out of this 30,000, 8,000 goes into some kind of a premium you're paying for your insurance, for example, like, so which becomes an equated monthly installment, and you're spending about a 5K in your restaurants, right, for your food. Now, right from the expenses down here, you'll be able to track exactly where is the source of revenue. And from the source of revenue, you will be able to track how your money has traveled when you're using blockchain, especially when you're talking about the Bitcoins. And this is how people track where from the money emanated and where the money is moving. In the traditional banking system, we never had this possibility, right? When I go into the bank, if I'm using a net bank and transferring from one account to the other account, the bank can say, yes, it has moved from one account to the other account. But even there, they will say, hey, it has moved into another bank account. And then after that, I don't have any trace, right? If I go and withdraw cash from the ATM, and after that, cash is cash, you will not have any trace of what has happened to that particular cash, where it has moved, and to whose hand it has moved. Wherein in a blockchain, you will be able to track exactly where it has moved. Now apply the same knowledge into what we talk about the land records, right? A zamindar would have owned the piece of the whole town or the whole village or a bunch of villages way back 100 years back or 200 years back or 300 years back. And this person would have inherited, from the zamindar or from the land owner. And then it would have been further split and it would have been sold. It would have been taken up by a real estate company. It would have been, taken for development of the land, and then the land would have been split into multiple pieces and kind of moved downstream, right? Now, if you are buying a piece of land today, if anyone would have gone through buying a property recently in India, you will know what is the difficulty, right? It is not going to be as easy. You will go and ask for an EC, you will ask for a kata, you will ask for the mother document. At best, you will get a mother document for last 30 years, 50 years, 60 years at best. Wherein when the land digitization happens, when the land records goes into the blockchain, you will be able to track to the exact source of when this land was first, recorded and who was owning that land and all the way till now. Now, what happens? All these fraudulent activities of somebody coming and disputing you that this is not your land, you have not consulted me before buying, all of that will be going away. The whole reason why the land registration and the land digitization is getting into the blockchain technology. So the way the whole life is turning around, right? The way we eat, we go to Swiggy, the way we commute, we go to Uber, the way we buy land, we will use these kind of records. Everything is changing around us. So if somebody is talking about digital transformation, don't just assume that it is some kind of a large enterprise play. Not necessarily. It is touching the last citizen in the planet Earth. Now, what does it mean to us? We are all marketers, right? What does it mean to us about this digital transformation? Okay, and what happens behind the screen? All these examples, what we saw, is just what is happening in front of us. What happens behind the screen? I'm a big fan of this guy, and I only hope that he would have lived for another 10 years, and what kind of innovation would have happened. Along with his life, the innovation phase kind of expired. Now, look at the three important questions. How this digital transformation helps and how it happens in the back end, how it impacts the marketing, right? And what can we do about it? And how do we harness this wave as marketers? Are we still going to go and do print advertisements? Are we going to still go and keep a, what do we call an outdoor advertisement? Are we still going to be doing advertisement in social media? Are we going to keep broadcasting our ideas to the consumers, or are we going to interact with the consumers? So that is where the come. Is there anyone talking? I'm sorry. Okay, so how this digital transformation helps, let's look at that. Imagine an economy where all 75% of all the consumer deliveries are happening in the same day, right? By demand-based forecasting, right? Socially linked delivery networks. Just imagine if whatever you're ordering is going to happen, the delivery happens so quickly, right? There is some kind of a ecosystem which kind of works together to make that delivery happen. Today, we all know, right? 10 years before, 15 years before, when we wanted to go for a mobile phone purchase, we need to go to different stores. We need to understand whether the models are available. The information used to be filtered down by the salesperson who is going to talk to you and all of that. Today, that has changed, but still it has not changed to an extent where we are able to order something and get something the same day, or the ability of the brand to predict when would you need their products, right? Talk about autonomous vehicles coming into place to displace your second cars. At least just remove the second cars. The first cars may continue, but second cars may vanish. If second cars vanish, it can decongest the cities by 10%. 25% of your retail shopping moves completely into omni-channel. If this is what is going to happen, and you are going to continuously listen to what your customers are looking for, because in this digitally run world, what is the advantage? The advantage is I know exactly when you will go hungry. When will you get hungry? I'll know exactly when to send you some offer. I'll know exactly when to prompt you to order. And I know exactly after ordering, how can I create an ecosystem to deliver it as soon as possible? So when you're ordering in Swiggy, you're able to really see, hey, this person is already on the way. Oh, the restaurant is already preparing the food. How is this happening? Because the whole ecosystem is kind of automated, right? It is no longer a restaurant system separately. It is no longer the commute system separately. That no longer the food preparation system separately. Everything is kind of talking to each other. With this kind of a change, what will happen? The success rate of new products will go leapfrog to about 70%. This is a research which has been done by IDC. So what does this mean? Today, the amount of product success is less than 25% worldwide. Any new product you are launching into the market, the success rate is less than 25%, and which can leapfrog to 70%. The reason being, you will get to know what the customers are looking for. If you know what your customers are looking for, then it becomes easier for you to serve them better. Now, what does organization need to do? The organizations can create new customer experiences, right? So you are going and ordering food through an app, through Swiggy app or a Zomato app or a Foodpanda app. Now, how do I change this experience, right? How do I, bring about certain set of actions you can take wherein you will be supplied with food quickly? Like, for example, I've been recently looking for food delivery options for senior citizens in India, right? Because my dad needs some kind of an assistance. I wanted some kind of senior citizen centric who can literally deliver food specifically made for the senior citizen. Not available, right? While the generic food apps are available, whether and available in ample, right? It is not just one app. We have 3-4 apps, but there are certain segments which are still unfulfilled. So how do you create new customer experiences? Or how do you turn it around? Hey, your birthday is coming. Here is the cake delivered, right? And now if you want to order more, rather than you expecting the orders to come from the consumer, are you going to supply what they want and expect them to accept? So consumer experiences can be altered thoroughly. The ecosystem has to work together, right? So how are you going to bring a complete ecosystem together? For example, how do I perform a through-channel marketing? When I came back from US to India and I was looking for a SUV, I went and searched online and spoke to one dealer. I fixed a test drive for I wanted to test drive some 2-3 vehicles. I fixed a test drive, and their website showed there were 3 SUVs which were automatic. So I wanted to drive these automatic vehicles. And the dealer calls me and says, hey, you know what? I'm going to bring the vehicle for you to do the test drive. And I said, okay, fine. Since I want to drive 3 different models, I wouldn't mind coming over there. But the dealer said, hey, no, there is only 1 model. There is no 3 models. But their website keeps talking about 3 models, wherein the dealer says there is no 3 models, there is only 1 model. So we talk about an ecosystem coming together to deliver something without creating a dilution in the customer experience. So we talk about 2-channel marketing, talk about as a service. See, everything as a service is happening today, right? Talk about things like, see, we all know that software as a service is what we all, got introduced to. But do you know, 3 years before, Tyson Group, which is a manufacturer of elevators, have created a model called elevator as a service. That means what? You use my elevator and you pay me as many rides, depending on as many rides you're taking, right? Elevator as a service. Rolls-Royce, which is one of the largest manufacturers of aircraft engines, have gone into the same model as aircraft engine as a service, right? So there are new models which are happening. How it is happening? Because data is available. Because you can collect data. I can literally sit in my office and find out how many people took, how many rides the elevator took on a particular day or on a particular month, and I can send a bill today thanks to digital transformation. I sitting in Rolls-Royce office, I'll be able to track how many miles that particular aircraft clocked with our engine, so that I'll be able to send out send out for payments, right? So all these as a service new revenue streams are happening today. Even for that extent, software as a service. One point in time, we used to sell perpetual licenses. Today, we are selling software as a service, pay as you go, right? So all these as a service new revenue streams are happening into the business. And finally, which kind of changes the whole, which allows you to monitor the changing demands of the consumer and keep serving them effectively. Now, what do people who want to really adopt digital economy needs to do, right? They need to develop and execute a vision for the digital transformation. They need to take an ecosystem first approach. They need to manage information effectively. They need to know their customers in real time, right? So for example, the moment I fix the IoT sensors into a car, I'll exactly know how you are driving, what kind of a driver you are. Now, if I know what kind of a driver you are, I'll be able to suggest to the insurance company if I can give you a rate which is a lot lesser than the other people, because you seem to be one of the great drivers which we have monitored, right? So if you look at the overall traction of knowing your customer in real time and serving them well, kind of makes a huge difference. And finally, you talk about optimizing the business processes. Now, what do people get when companies adopt digital transformation? What do they get? They get the greatest shareholder value. By looking at the ecosystem-wide approach, they get the best market share, because with you alone cannot make a difference. For example, if you're Maruti, if you're Asian Paints, you alone cannot make a difference. You, along with your partner network, needs to make a difference. So if you want to get the best market share, you need to talk about a scenario of working with the ecosystem-first approach. Then talk about managing information effectively. You have to create new revenue streams by looking at the information, by looking closely about what your customers are talking about. You will be able to deliver what they want more faster and with new revenue models. When you talk about customers in real time and serving them, you will be able to win and keep the customer. As it was famously quoted by Drucker, why the business exists is to win customers and keep customers, and that is what ultimately digital transformation will end up giving to businesses. And talking about the business processes to engage people faster and engage them smoothly and to deliver and to convert them, you will be able to predict your profitability and increase your profitability. Predicting profitability is not easy. So technically, what happens with all these technology layers, you are finally able to deliver great experience. You're able to win customers and keep customers. So let me fast track a little bit here. Now, how it impacts marketing. So we are all in marketing, marketers, right? Most of us are marketers, and this is a digital marketing forum. So what does it mean to marketing folks? All this digital transformation, falana, everything looks great, but what does it mean to marketing people like us, and what can we do about it? So when you talk about digital transformation, it has two important levers. One is all the growth drivers, and the second one is the operational drivers. So when we talk about the growth drivers, marketing is predominantly focused on this growth drivers of digital transformation. Talk about the demand generation, talk about how I am planning to reach and attract my customers. How am I going to improve my purchase process? Hey, 100 people are coming to my e-store, out of which only 10 people are buying my products. What should I do? There are some 30 people abandoning cart. What should I do? So how do I smoothen the whole purchase process? How do I completely improve customer experience? That's the whole question in front of us as marketers. So we all know this IDA model, right? This is one of the oldest framework which we have been speaking and using for a long time. And how old it is, a very interesting thing to think about. You guys can Google up. It is about 120 plus years old and still holds water. It is not that it is completely gone defunct. Of course, there are certain theories which are kind of talking about how do we change the way it is. It need not be linear. It needs to be a two-way and all that interesting stuff. But still, what St. Elmo Lewis said it in 1898 still holds water. But the fundamental question as a marketer you need to ask is, do I know how many people are there in each of these stages? We all know awareness, interest, desire, action, brilliant. But we only today know as marketers that, how many people took action? Yes, I know. How many people bought my product? I know. But how many people were in the desire stage? More to a certain extent, I may know if it is a high value product, if I give a test drive, if I give a, a proposal for these guys, then I will know who are there in the desire stage. But if somebody is going to be buying a fast moving good, I don't know how many people are there in the desire, how many people are there in interest, I don't know. And how many people are in awareness, I don't know. Now, the next important question is, do you know who they are? Right? Who are there in the desire stage? Who are there in the interest stage? Who are there in the awareness stage? And that is what, ladies and gentlemen, digital transformation is going to help us find. Because digital transformation is not a one-way street. It is not what the consumers are doing on their own, and we keep bombarding them with information as marketers. Instead, we keep listening to what the customers are talking. We keep understanding what the customers are doing. How? I'll explain shortly. And then once we know what they are doing, then we will be able to understand how many of them are there in the awareness stage, how many of them are in the interest stage, and so on and so forth. Even a keyword research, a simple keyword research can give you these answers today, but a lot more analytics, a lot more marketing insights kind of brings it a lot more clearer for marketers to make a difference. So the next level of IDA become the customer journey, customer decision journey. We all know about it. And we know what are all the different channels we use to reach the customers, what kind of information they'll be seeking. For example, I'm going to be looking for a new car. If I need a new car, then I need to, initially I may be going and looking around for the different car models which have been launched recently. So there may be some blogs which are talking about, hey, what are the top picks in the season, right? In 2021, what are the top picks of cars? Then once I'm serious about a couple of models, which I'm really liking, then I will go to probably sites like CarDeco, sites like Team BHP, and start comparing them, right? Now you'll be able to track how many people are comparing a product against which competitor's product. I'll know. Now, once they compare, what are they doing? They are getting into what they call it as the consideration set. Once they get into the consideration set, the technically next step would be they may want to come and test drive that shortlisted car, what they have taken, right? What they have shortlisted. Now, how do I proactively reach them and say them, hey, I'm having the car, it is available within 2 kilometers of your place, and I'm going to come and give you a test drive. right? You can change the overall customer experiences if you track the customer footprint in the digital, which they leave in the digital environment. So you are present in the digital, they are present in the digital, they are leaving some footprints. Are you really tracking those footprints? And are you engaging them depending on what they are doing? Now the funnel is getting into a flywheel. It is no longer just I take awareness, interest, desire, action, and convert them, but I need to keep converting them on an ongoing basis. Why? Because it is going to be as a service, right? Most of the thanks to digital proliferation, most of the products and services are getting into what we talk about as a service. That means what? Say, for example, I was in Microsoft or I was in Tally. We used to sell a software license. People buy, which we call it as a perpetual license. Very good. Buy, pay me money, go away. They will just go and do whatever they want to do with that license. And after that, we never know what we are doing. And when we release the next version, we used to go and tell them, hey, do you want to buy the new version? All right. Today, that is not the case. For Office 365 or for Azure or for Google Cloud or for Tizen Elevator as a service or Rolls-Royce, flight engine, I'm going to be billing them every month. I'm going to be telling them, this is how you use my product in this month, and I'm going to be billing you exactly because you use so much of my product. Now I need to keep engaging them, keep evaluating their experience, ensuring that the experience is delivered every month so that the next month renewal will happen. Otherwise, the next month renewal will never happen. All right. So this is where the world is moving. The customer experience is becoming a center piece because of this. It is not we are like philanthropic and going and saying, hey, I'm going to be very customer centric. No, the world demands you to be customer centric. The world demands you to deliver customer experience. Otherwise, you're not in business. Now, the brand engagement kind of happens across the customer decision journey, right? Talk about how are you planning to monitor how people perceive your brand? What are they talking about your brand? Are they talking positive? Are they talking negative? Are they not at all talking about you? And when they talk about you, how are you responding, right? Are you responding to those communications? Is there a by lane kind of an interaction? Are you having an interactive mode with your customer? Are you amplifying this good thing that is happening around your brand to a net new audience? Are you creating the so-called referrals and recommendations? And at the end, are you really leading this whole effort, or you're just leaving it to the whole world to manage it by itself? So as a brand manager or as a marketing head, what is your role? How are your role getting morphed, right? One point in time, it was all hunky-dory, right? 20, 25 years back, when I started marketing, it was all hunky-dory. There was hardly like 5 or 6 channels. We used to just decide a media plan, work with Ogilvy and Mather, give them the plan, give them the business briefing. They will come up with a plan, approve the budgets, release the ads, done. Nothing beyond that. Today, that is not the case, right? We used to do reviews even 20 years before. How do you used to do the reviews? Once in a quarter. We used to do postmortem. Today, that is not the case, right? So the world has changed. And this is what Philip Kotler kind of told us 20 years back, right? See the date, 1999. This is exactly what he said. Hey, marketing is going to change. Be ready. And that is exactly what is hitting us today. Especially more so in the last 5 to 7 years, it has hit us really, really hard. All right. And what are those changes? The whole marketing analytics models are kind of, empowered with so much of data and so much of information. So if you take a data analytics framework, right, and apply it for marketing, so you see on the fag end, left end, you see data. Once you have data, you can start doing analytics. When you do analytics and derive insights, what kind of analytics you can do? You can do just descriptive analytics, which is what happened. What happened, right? What happened is, hey, I sold $1 million worth products and services last month. Very good. That is what happened. Why did it happen? Why did this 1 million? Why not 1.5 million? Why not 750K? Why it is $1 million? Why did it happen? Diagnose it, right? If you do not know why it is happening, if you do not know why your customer is buying, then you can never know how to move this 1 million to $10 million and to $10 billion, right? Why is a very critical question. And that is what diagnostic analytics kind of brings to your table. Then comes what we talk about, the predictive analytics. What is predictive analytics? Basis what happened and why it happened, you decide what will happen. All right. That is where, if you see companies like Amazon and Flipkart keeps telling you the predictive analytics. Hey, buyers like you bought this also. Buyers who bought this also bought that, which is the most simplest of predictive analytics, which we talk about the wisdom of the crowd. After you reach out to predictive analytics, you get into what we call it as prescriptive analytics, which talks about what should I do, right? It is not just what will happen, but can I also do something? Can I also get some decision support, right? And decision automation. Now, if you see, there is a green, dull green layer down here, which we talk about the human input. When we had only descriptive analytics, there was a lot of human input, right? Before descriptive analytics, it was your opinion versus my opinion. We were all fighting with each other. Then descriptive analytics came into picture. What happened, we know. Now there was a human element of intelligence which stepped in to kind of analyze and try to, give some insights basis our gray matter, right? Now that green shade is going down and down as the analytics is picking up. The reason is not that we are, the analytics world is saying that humans are useless, not necessarily, because we are the guys who are building this, but the data is becoming so huge, it kind of becomes so difficult for a human to handle, right? We can process 4 items, 5 items, 10 items at best. We cannot process millions of records. We cannot process so many tons and tons of data which is coming our way, zettabytes of data which is coming our way. That is where the machine comes to your assistance. And that is what we talk about decision support. The machine tells you what are the alternatives. It kind of takes the whole huge data set and whittles it down to 3 or 4 options and gives some justification so that the humans can take the right decisions. So the decision remains. And then finally, the decision automation, right? Okay, decision support is it tells the humans, okay, this is what is the alternative. Do you want to really take it or leave it? Now, the next step is decision automation, where it kind of moves into the next stage of saying, okay, here it is. You now flip around, my friends. When the whole world is moving into digital transformation, and this is how the world companies are going to help customers to take their decisions. This is how the world, entrepreneurs and officers and workers, right? All of us, right? At the end of the day, we may be going and working into a company, or we may be running our own company. We have to take a lot of decisions, right? And so your customer may be a B2C customer, which is a consumer who may just want to fill the fridge, or your customer may be a B2B customer who may be sitting in Boeing and want to buy the next aircraft engine from Rolls-Royce. So how this whole decision process, so connect this to IDA, awareness, interest, desire, and action. Now, how do we guide people to take action using data transformation and digital that kind of empowers us with so much of data? Now, when we look back, what does this give us, right? The general reporting is like a rear view mirror. It's like a postmortem. Okay, what happened? I know this is what has happened. What can I do about it? Nothing I can do about it, because there is no time machine to go back. So it is just like a rear view mirror, nothing beyond that. Predictive analytics kind of gives you a forward view. Okay, this could happen next, right? Or a prescriptive analytics, which kind of gives you the forward view plus the potential actions, right? For example, it can say, hey, the map is showing you there is a congestion ahead. Now take a right turn immediately. Otherwise, you may get stuck and you may waste another 15 minutes on the road. prescriptive analytics, right? So, and just apply the same logic in your business, right? When you're running a business, if suddenly it says that, hey, you know what, your pipeline looks very weak, you need to invest on awareness. And if you're not investing on awareness now, 3 months down the line, your business will suffer. That is prescriptive analytics, right? So we talk about different technologies that are foraying into marketing because of this. Because the world is moving more and more digital, because more and more data is up for grabs for the marketers, obviously you need different kind of technologies. In 2011, we had as less as 150 technologies. In 2020, we had 8,000 technologies. That's the speed at which it is growing. There are so many technologies. And every time I visit institution, right, whether I go to IIM Indore or I speak in Rennes School, France, or I go to Narsimonji, or now I'm in front of you guys, Jane. The fundamental question I keep asking all the academicians is, are we integrating marketing technologies into our MBA courses? Are we giving them the labs for the students to play around and learn these technologies? If not, we are not equipping them well enough, right? So these technologies, how does it play in these models, right? The marketing analytics models. Now let's look at it. When we talk about the extreme action, that is where AI comes into play. AI in marketing is an upcoming field. A lot of dollars is getting invested in the AI environment. People are kind of talking about AI. Still AI, we will look at the hype cycle next, and still AI has some runway to go. It's going to take a little time. There are certain AI models which are making a dent, but still it is in the trough of disillusionment as far as Gartner hype cycle goes. The next level, decisions, right? Can I assist people to take decisions? Yes, you can assist them by giving what we talk about the chatbots, by giving them extra information. Like, for example, Lenskart made that huge move of you selecting the spectacles by wearing it in front of your computer. You don't need to go to the retail store. You can just wear the spectacles and look like, okay, this frame looks better, and then buy it, which is what we talk about, an augmented reality, right? And more digital folks are talking about augmented realities using digital mirrors in standard retail as well. So if you're talking about smart retail, when you're going into the retail showroom, you will get to see digital mirrors sooner or later. So all this so-called trial rooms will vanish, right? Today, you go to any of these standard stores, like you go to Max or a Trends or an Allen Solly. Wherever you go, you will see some trial rooms where you can go and try new cloth. You don't need to. You just take those cloths and just scan it, and you will see exactly how will you look with that particular dress, including the different sizes, right? Whether you look great in a particular size or not, you will be able to understand what we talk about an augmented reality, digital mirrors. If you want to really give them the right suggestions, right? The chatbot telling them, hey, you know what? You need to do this. Chatbots, again, has come a long way. Initially, it were using neuro-linguistic programming, what we talk about in NLP. Now they're using NLG, natural language generation. Now it is, if I'm not wrong, it is in the 8th or 9th generation. And it has gone a long way, right? It is no more a puppet, right? Going to tell whatever somebody has given, but it is also going to study. For example, if I supply the chatbot with last 1 year of my customer service recordings, right? The machine can learn. That is where we talk about machine learning, right? The machine can learn what did humans do when a particular question came. How did they manage that particular conversation, right? The machines can learn and then apply it back with the humans, right? So that is what we talk about, the decision support, right? When the chatbots come and suggest you the right products, suggest you the right services, and so on and so forth. Prior to ML, we talk about the predictive analytics, right? Predictive analytics kind of works with what we talk about, the wisdom of the crowd. It kind of looks at, okay, last 12 months, if somebody bought product A, then they bought product B as well and product C as well, most of the time together. So we can do a simple basket analysis and then suggest what could be the potential move by the customer and recommend them. right? In fact, in our own company, when we are working with campaigns, marketing campaigns, we are working on what we talk about a campaign recommendation system. With the engine will kind of see, it will study those millions of campaigns which are run worldwide by different organizations, see how the returns of those campaigns, and then do recommendations depending on the particular situation a marketer is in. If you want predictive, then you need to have the simple diagnostic analytics, which will kind of tell you why. And if you want to do all of this, you need to kind of have a marketing automation system, which kind of brings all the different elements together. For example, I may do social media marketing, I may do image analytics, I may do what we talk about the email marketing, I may do SMS marketing, I may do WhatsApp marketing. So name all these channels, right? I keep pushing different communication. I have different conversations. So I have conversational chatbots. All of this kind of needs to be captured into one single database, because if you don't capture the behavioral data, if you don't capture the psychographic data, of course, the standard demographic data and geographic data is available in plenty. But if you don't capture the behavioral data, you will never be able to perform all these analytics, right? So that is where it finally gets into what we talk about data. Data today, we talk about big data. Just note this point, guys. Another 1 year, 2 years, we are set to see a huge data explosion, right? When the machine-to-machine interactions and equipped with IoT is going to really catch up, right? Today, when we talk about 7.7 billion humans out there, we are talking about some 5.6 or 5.7 billion mobile phones, and similar number of laptops and desktops at best. These are the end nodes which are creating data today. Down the line, the sensors will create data. The IoT sensors will send a lot more data, a lot more finite information, lot more smaller information, lot more information about micro moments the consumers are going into. And depending on that particular micro moments, you can start pushing the right products and the right services and the right experiences to the customer. And that is where the world is moving. And this is the hype cycle, which kind of gives you an understanding that, which are the technologies which are moving up. If you are a serious marketer, start monitoring the hype cycle year on year into this, especially this one, digital marketing. And there is another hype cycle which talks about digital marketing and advertising, where you can see what are the technologies which are moving up and down, right? And especially, you can also see which ones are highly inflated, which one are in the trough of disillusionment, right? Last year in 19 report, if you see, AI was in the top. Now AI is moving into the trough of disillusionment. That means what? It is slowly getting into the reality, right? Because anytime a new technology comes, we kind of hype it like nobody's business, right? When we looked at Star Wars and when we looked at the robotics, which were kicking in there, or when we looked at Jurassic Park, we all wondered, oh, this kind of technology will kill or make humans extinct. That is what we talk about, height of inflated expectation. It is inflated because it is like fiction. Then it kind of goes down into trough of disillusionment. As a marketer, keep a watch on these hype cycles, right? Which gives you a lot of understanding about which are the technologies which are ready for adoption, right? Now, what can we do about it as marketers? We know that digital transformation is happening, whether we like it or not, it is happening. We know how it is impacting marketing, right? Okay, there is a lot of things which are happening in marketing as well. Now, as a marketer, what can I do about it, right? Ultimately, why all these changes are happening? Because we want to enable great customer experience. And that is where, ladies and gentlemen, we have to get into what we talk about mind space. We spoke about retail space. We spoke about production space. We spoke about the living space. Now we get into what we talk about the mind space, where we have to tinker around the customer experience, right? Are we advertising? Yes, we keep advertising even today when we are opening Times of India or Hindustan Times or Hindu. Every Saturday, you see a host of advertisements. But unfortunately, if you know your customers, not many of your target audience is reading newspapers anymore. So that is the reality. Thanks to COVID, reading newspapers have slightly picked up, but that is not changing a lot. Now, how do I deliver customer experience in a digital world? not just by advertising, not just by broadcasting, but I need to create that experience, right? Because I'll be able to track a lot of things in their lives and give them back what they want. Depending on the time, I will be able to deliver them the right experience, right? So you can create that experience where, you know, the fridge can tell you what to do. That means your marketing systems should be communicating with the fridge to understand what the person is looking for, right? You know exactly when a person is sleeping, when a person is eating, thanks to the digital wave that is bringing you tons and tons of data. Now you need to give them the right kind of information in the right place, right? Sometime back, we used to be cursed, marketers used to be cursed saying that, hey, you are sending, you know, communications when I'm sitting at the dinner table. No longer. We can ensure that you are working when we are sending the messages to you, right? So that we will get the right kind of attention. We will not irritate you. So we will be able to time the communication a lot better. And while you send the communication, while you can also keep track of what the customers want, right? So look at the kind of you know, information which is flowing. Okay, she's been going to Google and searching for something around marathon training. She's been going and you know, talking about it in social media. She's been going around and you know, joining a course on you know, how to train herself for marathon, right? Traditionally, based on my transaction data analytics, I know she is living in Illinois and she is an inline skater. You see on the bottom right, inline skater. But her current behavior doesn't show that she's doing anything around skates, but she's doing something completely different. So can I keep a watch on what my customer is wanting and give the right kind of products to her? Once we know our customers, can we also do lookalike audiences, right? Can we go and find new customers who are matching our customer persona, thereby inviting them to your digital presence, whether you're inviting them to your social media accounts, whether you're inviting them to your website, whether you're inviting them to a physical forum, because the world is getting hybrid, right? So how are you going to manage? And once they reach your digital presence, give them the best performance. I don't know how many of you know this gentleman. The gentleman's name is written there, but not many people will be knowing about him. But he's a great inspiration because he is one living professor who is a billionaire, right? His name is David Sheridan. And this is what David Sheridan has to say. A little bit about history of David Sheridan. David Sheridan was the professor of Larry Page. If you know the history, Larry Page in 1999 went to Yahoo and said, I want to sell off Google algorithm, right? For $1 million. If Yahoo would have given $1 million to Larry Page that time, they would have inherited the greatest search engines of all time. But Yahoo refused. When Larry Page went back to school and he was sitting with David cut a check of $100,000 to Larry Page to continue for the next 6 months. And that made David Sheridan as the living professor who is a billionaire, right? Now, this is what he has to say. When somebody comes to your digital presence, if it is fast and ugly, they will still use it. They will curse you, but they will still use it. But if it is slow, they will not use it. For example, if you go to Amazon, if you go to Flipkart, these are not the best experiences one could think of, but you get the best performance there. So, for example, this is Amazon. You all know Amazon is a god of data, right? Amazon says that every 100 milliseconds of latency, they will lose about a percentage of sales during that particular point of time. Say for 10 minutes, Amazon site has gone down in terms of performance by 100 milliseconds, they will lose 1% of sales of that 10 minutes. Just imagine how huge it will be. Now, what are all the things I can, once they come into my digital presence, what are all the things I can track? I can track clicks, right? For example, I can see how many clicks happen at which parts of my site, which parts of my web store I'll be able to track. I'll be able to track their eyeballs, right? In traditional marketing, we always used to talk about catching their eyeballs, right? Now you can literally catch their eyeballs. You can also see what patterns they are following, whether they are following an F pattern, when they are consuming swifting through the page, they will be going through a F pattern. If they are going into a very graphical element, they will go through a Z pattern, right? So what kind of a pattern the eyeballs are moving, you'll be able to catch. You can do image analytics. For example, you can see what brand is kind of displayed on the image and start tracking how many times your brand showed up in the images which are being put in on the whole internet, right? So talk about, there are 3 billion photos which are shared every day. And how many times your brand logo appeared in these images, you can track. You can also find moments of consumption, right? I'm selling this beer, I'm owning this beer brand. I want to know when they are consuming, where they are consuming. Oh, basis the image analytics, I could say 60% of the time it is being consumed on the beach side. Okay, 60% of the time, 20-30% of the time it is being consumed in bachelor parties, right? I'll be able to track what they are doing, why they are doing, and how they are doing, all through simple analytics. Now I can create a call to action map. Basis all this tracking of behavior, I'll be able to communicate the right things back to them, and I'll be able to create a call to action map guiding them to take the next step. Okay, so to give a simple example, say for example, people are going to Google and searching for appraisals are around the corner, right? Already it is going to be November, December, and come January, February, appraisals will come. Okay, people are going and searching for how do I manage appraisals, right? And you show them a white paper, right? And you give them a form to download. So somebody is filling that form and downloading the white paper. In the white paper, there's a page where you're going to be saying them, hey, hope you enjoyed this white paper, which talks about appraisals, and would you be interested to get trained on appraisal management skills? And you go there, then it takes you to say Jain CMS Institute, and it says that, okay, Jain CMS has got a nice training on interpersonal skills and appraisals, right? Now you click that, you buy. Now what we talk about a CTA map, a call to action is not just a button in a particular place in a web store or in an email or in a SMS or in a WhatsApp, right? It is a continuous push of people to convert, right? You can also find influencers. You're talking about a particular topic. You want to know who is the God man in this particular area, who is actually the person who can spread my message a lot faster. So you can go and find out influencers and engage them. You can also kind of understand, if you are taking a piece of content and analyzing the content, you can find which are the influencers this content may suit and start pushing to the influencers, and the influencers can then trigger it to a lot more people, so that influencer related communications can happen. And you can also measure conversations, right? So if you're doing a campaign, say Dow did a campaign speaking about Speak Beautiful, right? It did this campaign in Twitter, and you can kind of go ahead and track what are they talking, how many of them are talking positive. Now if you look at this dark greens, these are all the most positive comments which are happening. If you look at the dull greens, they are okay, then you go into this blue, it is all neutral kind of conversations, and then you can see reds, which are, and this is in different dates, right? So the campaign ran for 30 days, and in this 30 days, different dates, how was the sentiment. Now there is a red peaking. I should do some response back to them so that the red will come down, and you see the red has come down and blue kicked in. That means they become a little neutral. They were consuming my response, and after consuming the response, it become green. So how do I have an interaction, and how do I measure this conversation such that I'll be able to have a smooth engagement with the customers? Ultimately, what we want to do, we want to attract good customers to our digital presence and convert them, right? How many people, say 10,000 people came to my digital area, whether my social media pages, my website, my app, I kind of, available today for them in multiple formats and shapes, and how many of them finally converted. And by all this, you can create what we talk about an affinity map. Affinity map kind of tells you what this person is interested and how this person may behave at a particular point in time. and ultimately you create lifestylers, right? You create one lifestyler, you get multiple customer because they create chain reactions. So ultimately what we are trying to do in a digitally transformed environment, a data-driven marketing is becoming a must for offering the personalized experiences on demand. You need to allow them to consume and then buy. So you need to also track how they are consuming so that you can kind of predict whether they are ready to buy. It is great experience and not just price discounts anymore, right? If you give price discounts, people may start, okay, fine, big billion days, we are all fine, we are enthusiastic, but that alone may not cut the ice. Now, this is what we discussed. We looked at the retail spaces, how they are transforming because of digital. Living spaces transforming because of digital. The production spaces are transforming. And finally, we came to the mind spaces, which as marketers, we are all pretty much passionate about. And we kind of understood what modern marketing is supposed to do and what modern marketers are supposed to do. Any questions?
Yeah, any questions from the audience? Sir, actually one question is there from the physical audience. So how much room is there for EI in data-driven marketing? So if we talk in terms of
how much
emotional intelligence.
Emotional intelligence. Okay. Okay. Emotional intelligence is playing an important role, definitely. It comes predominantly in two areas today in data-driven marketing, right? One is it comes into the sentiment analytics, right? So when you're doing sentiment analytics, there is a lot of emotional aspects being captured, right? Because sentiment analytics has got an interesting view from lexical meaning to the actual human meaning, right? So for example, if I say daddy, right, a dad or a daddy, if you look at the lexical meaning of daddy, it will say that somebody who has created an offspring. That is what our dictionaries will say. But the actual meaning of daddy has got a lot of emotions built into it, right? It is talking about somebody who is a warm person, who takes care of me, who kind of cares for me, and who kind of nurtures me, gives me the right values. There are so many different aspects of a dad. So now, if you look at the lexical meaning versus the actual meaning, the sentiment analysis kind of brings in what we talk about understanding the actual human implications when we talk about the emotional aspects, which kind of gets involved into that. That's one area. The second area is the NLG, right? The natural language generation, right? Which is important because what happens more and more, we are expecting the ML to kick in and start kind of the chatbots trying to have a better conversation with the humans. So human interactions, right? Human to human interactions, when they get morphed, even between humans, we do a lot of mistakes when we talk to people. We don't understand the sensitivities, but over a period of time, when we talk about the ML learning from the human way of interaction and also learning the human mistakes, they are becoming more and more emotionally charged to deal with the right kind of communication and the right kind of messages. Hope that answered your question.
Yeah, fine, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any more questions? The audience who are online, so any questions you would like to ask?
I'm seeing such things.
No.
No, I'm not seeing anything. Yeah. Hope you all enjoyed the session. Hope I didn't bore you to death for this last 65 minutes. Looking forward to having some interaction as we move forward. Thank you very much.
Yeah, fine, sir. So I think if no questions so far, so I think, so I think it has been really a wonderful insights which Dr. Shiv Kumar has presented, and a kind of see, in this digital age, we are seeing that more and more marketing, which is now become like happening, and maybe in the coming future, we are also seeing. So data is at the core. And I think this is something really a very I should say it is a kind of a very connective or a contextual insights which has been presented by Dr. Shiv. So from on behalf of CMS Business School and all the participants, so a very much heartily thanks to Dr. Shiv for giving his time, and thank you, sir, for all this your time which you have given and all the insights which you presented. So I think this is really a value addition to this conference. Thank you,